Hi, my name is Bella, and I have clinical social anxiety. If you had the parents I have, you would have it too. Anyway, this story is about how, despite all of that, I became a superhero. My parents were the worst in the world. They hated each other, so every time they were together, all they did was scream at each other.
Did anyone see my socks? Stop being so careless! I wasn't talking to you! Then why are you looking at me?
They never remembered I was there unless something went wrong. Mom, the food is burning.
OMG, Bella, why didn't you tell me? This is all your fault.
Yep, somehow every fight always ends up being my fault. By the time I got into preschool, I was always so terrified to talk to anyone. I was so used to people talking over me that I forgot I was supposed to participate in conversations. My teacher had warned them, but my parents just thought I was shy and would grow out of it. Nothing changed. And soon enough, they were called in for another parent-teacher meeting. Thank you both for coming. I called you here because I'm worried about Bella. She's just too quiet.
Maybe she doesn't have anything to say.
You are so silly. What 5-year-old doesn't have something to say?
Don't you dare call me names in public. Maybe she's just deep in thought. A secret genius, like me. Ha! You! If you're a genius, then I'm the Queen of England.
Excuse me, can we focus on Bella? Maybe you both need to engage her more at home. Talk to her.
About what?
And my teacher could only sigh in frustration as she sat there, watching my parents argue all over again. My teacher saw my sorry situation at home and tried to help. They made me join class activities and even a school play. I had just one line. Be gone, Knight. I practiced hard and even got my parents to come. But when the spotlight hit me, I saw them arguing in the crowd. They didn't even notice me. I froze and ran off stage in tears. After that, I gave up. I blended into the background. Quiet, invisible. I go to school, sit in the back, mind my business, and when school is over, I come home and watch movies till I fall asleep. Until one summer morning, I came outside to pick up the paper and heard a cry behind the hedges. Hello? Is someone there? I walked closer to the sound and saw a Moses basket. I looked into it and I saw a baby with a note written in red, bold letters. Please protect her. She's in danger. Hello? Whose baby is this? The baby stopped crying and smiled at me. God, you are so cute. I took the baby to my room because it was getting cold outside. I wanted to call the police, but then on the side of the note, I saw the words, "Don't call the police." What was I supposed to do? How could I care for a baby? I was just 15. I panicked, and I went to my parents. And they were still arguing about the same thing they'd been fighting over the night before.
Stop trying to make me look like a loser. Then stop being a loser. Get a job.
Guys, I found a baby outside.
That's wonderful, Bella. What the fudge is an idea man?
The baby is in danger, and we have to protect her.
Lovely, sweetie. An idea man is me.
Okay, bye. So I went back to the room to check how the baby was doing.
Wait, did you hear what she said? Something about a baby? Maybe a school project. Right.
And they continue arguing. After settling the little one in the room, I couldn't take my eyes off her. Well, baby, I guess it's just you and me then. I'm going to carry you now. Please don't cry. Whoever dropped her must have loved her. Packed inside the basket were clothes, baby formula, diapers, and bottles. Everything she needed besides an address. Prada shoes? You are a fancy baby, aren't you? What's that smell? OMG, emergency! Diaper change! That diaper was the worst thing I have ever smelled. I had to get ready. I wore gloves, masks, and approached the diaper with surgical precision. How can something so tiny have this much poo? Don't laugh. It's not funny. Are you a pooing machine? Ugh. I bathed her, fed her, and then she went to sleep. Now I had time to think. What was I going to do with a baby?
Bella, we're coming in.
Oh no. I hid the baby in my closet and quickly shoved all the baby stuff under the bed. Except I forgot a pacifier.
What's going on here? Why do you have baby things?
School project. With babies.
I told you. Yeah, right. This isn't an I told you so moment. Why not? I told you so.
And they started arguing in my room. Oh God, they were going to wake the baby.
What's that sound?
Nothing.
Mom, your food is burning. Oh no!
And my mom rushed to the kitchen, with my dad grumbling irritably as he followed behind. Ooh, that was close, eh, baby? Welcome to our home. I had 2 missions. 1, keep Mom and Dad away from the baby. 2, figure out whose baby it was. Mission 1 was easy, but Mission 2? Epic fail. I did all I could, checked with the police for any missing baby reports, visited every neighbor with a newborn, but none were missing, and hiding the baby was getting harder by the day. One afternoon, I felt like the baby needed the sun, so I went through my parents' old things and I found my old stroller. So I dressed her up, put her in the stroller, and headed out. We were enjoying the air in the park after a long day of investigation when I ran into a group of my classmates.
Bella, did you have a baby?
Baby? Oh no, that's not a baby. It's a, hyper-realistic doll. For research.
Oh, that's great. Good luck with the research.
And then I quickly pushed the stroller away. The last thing I needed was to run into another familiar face. Great! Now you have managed to make me even weirder. It's not funny. Let's go home. The next day at breakfast, I was reading the morning paper when I saw something curious. Billionaire couple who died in freak accident finally buried. Baby still missing. The couple was the Franks, the richest family in our country. They died a few days ago, just before the baby showed up on my doorstep. My parents were out, so I decided to briefly go around the mansion while the baby slept. The mansion was the most beautiful house I'd ever seen. As a kid, I used to stand at their gate, imagining what it was like to live there. Suddenly, I felt someone grab me on my shoulder. Hey, leave me alone!
Who are you? And why are you lurking around?
I'm not lurking. I'm just standing here.
Well, that's not allowed, so get!
Then we heard a commotion coming from inside the mansion.
Fudge! Quick, hide in the hedges!
He quickly put a hand over my mouth before I could say anything and pushed me into the hedges.
Listen to me, you peasant! I know you know where that baby is. I give you 48 hours to provide it, or I will lock you up. It is mine. I am her only relative. Next time I come here, I'd better see it.
The angry woman entered her car and sped off. Was she just calling a baby it?
That's Cordelia, the cunning younger sister of this mansion's owner. She never cared for her niece. She just wanted this family fortune.
Wait, please, what happened to the baby?
I don't know. Amelia just vanished the morning after the accident.
I went home that day, finally knowing what was going on. I walked into the room to find the baby awake and playing with her feet. Amelia, that's your name, isn't it? And she gave me the biggest smile yet. Okay, don't panic. In this room is the heiress to one of the richest families, and her psycho aunt is tearing the country apart looking for her. The next day, I went back to the mansion. I camped outside the hedges and observed. I needed to know who could have dropped Amelia at my house. The person wanted to protect her from bizarro Cordelia, but who? I watched everyone closely. The police, some maids, one older man who was dishing out orders and errands to everyone, and...
So are you just standing today?
Nope. I'm lurking today.
Let me guess. You're one of those bloggers who think they're so smart, solving unsolvable cases.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course. You couldn't pull it off.
Excuse me? What do you mean?
I mean, you don't seem like someone who would fight for a story. Your voice is squeaky, and you look very afraid.
I am not afraid of you.
Wow, first time I can actually hear you.
I wanted to shove that silly boy into the hedges. But no, this is about Amelia. I needed to use him. Who is that man?
That's my boss. Mr. Barron is the head butler of this fine mansion, and I am his assistant. He was here before Amelia's dad was born. He loved that man like a son. He has been mourning since the accident.
So he raised Cordelia, too?
Yep, I guess sometimes the apple really does fall far from the tree. That woman is just pure evil, unlike Amelia's dad.
I had an idea. The next morning, while Amelia was still asleep, I slipped out at dawn and waited outside the mansion, watching as Mr. Barron drove in. I made a bold move and stepped in front of Mr. Barron's car. To my surprise, he wasn't angry at all.
Are you all right?
Good morning, sir. I'm trying to do homework. I have to pass the forms around the neighborhood. Could you please fill out this form?
Sure.
I passed him a pen and he started to fill in the form. A scream almost escaped my mouth. I knew it! It was you! You left baby Amelia on my doorstep.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do! This is the same handwriting in the notes I found on her. He was stunned. He tried to say something and failed.
Come with me.
He took me into his office and slammed the door so hard, it scared me.
How is Amelia?
She's great. I've been taking care of her.
You? That was never my intention. Where are your parents?
That's not important. I understand that you are keeping Amelia from her aunt, right?
How did you... Well, yes. Amelia is the heir, and her guardian controls the estate until she comes of age. Cordelia is the only relative left, but I don't trust her. She wants Amelia for all the wrong reasons. I have no plan. I just need to keep her safe until the will is read.
Can't you take care of her?
Me? I'd love to, but I'm only a butler. Still, I believe her father would have trusted me to be her guardian. Just keep Amelia safe until I know what the will says. Then I'll come up with another plan. The will is being read tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the huge burden.
No, this has been the best time of my life. The next day, I hid just outside the living room where the will was going to be read.
In the event of my untimely demise and my wife's, I appoint the man who raised my sister and me. I trust him to do the same for my child. Mr. Barron, thank you for being more than a father to me.
The entire room erupted in gasps.
This is outrageous! The butler? Never! I will contest this in court! He chose me! I can't believe it! Raising my niece is my right, and mine alone!
If anyone deserves to raise her, it's Mr. Barron. And I'm sure her father would be at peace knowing Amelia is finally safe and home. As I stepped out, the room fell into chaos. Everyone was speechless, even Jet. I kissed Amelia one last time, placed her in Mr. Barron's arms. I was happy she was safe, but it hurt more than I expected. She already felt like my little sister. Just as I turned to leave, a voice called out behind me.
Bella, hang on. We can't thank you enough for what you did. We owe you a debt we'll never be able to repay.
I only did what felt right. If it weren't for that chance meeting with Amelia, I wouldn't have discovered the strength in me. She's so pure, so sweet, and—
You're welcome to move in if you want. I'm sure Amelia would be so happy if she could see you every day.
Amelia smiled at me, and I agreed. But instead of staying there full-time, I'd visit often to see Amelia and spend time with her, just like a real sister. It's time I went home. The moment I walked through the door, my parents were standing there like they'd been waiting for me all along.
I saw all the baby stuff in your room, Bella. You're hiding something, aren't you?
I'm sorry. Then I told them everything, and they started to cry.
So you have had a baby here all this time, and we didn't know? My God, we are the worst parents! Sweetie, we will do better. Please forgive us.
I was stunned by the apology. I never knew they would come. We held each other close, and honestly, I couldn't remember the last time a hug felt that warm. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and found Jet standing there.
Hello, sir. Ma'am. I'm here to invite you and Miss Bella to Amelia's homecoming party, on behalf of Mr. Barron.
That evening, as invited by Mr. Barron, my whole family attended Amelia's homecoming celebration.
So I was wrong about you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So, can I have this dance? Just to know if I'm forgiven.
I'd love to.
Do you know that your voice doesn't squeak anymore?
I didn't know, but he was right. I was no longer afraid to use my voice. Jet and I danced hand in hand, moving together in a beautiful rhythm. The moment felt so magical, it was like floating on air. I looked into his eyes, and I could tell he was feeling the same way. The next day, my face was in all the newspapers. Everyone was calling me a hero. Life at home was even better. My parents went to therapy, and the screaming stopped. The mansion became my second home. I visited Amelia and Jet, my boyfriend, every day. What can I say? Sometimes life takes the most unexpected turns, and that's when the most wonderful things happen.
Not to brag, but these are really tasty. I bet even Grace, my picky sister, would finish this whole thing in one sitting. My cooking abilities were definitely up there with Michelin star chefs. I took another bite out of a fajita when I heard noises coming from the living room. Ah, Grace must be back. There she was, sprawled out on the couch, surrounded by her handbag, heels, jacket, and other stuff. Grace, we've talked about this. I can't keep on tidying up after you. I have studying to do, I said as I picked up her things. Suddenly, Grace sat up, rested her head in her hands, then looked at me with sad eyes. An uneasy feeling welled up in my heart. Oh no, what was wrong? She sighed, and as she glumly stared at the floor, she said, "Easton, pack your things. We're moving out tomorrow." What? Again? I couldn't contain my shock. Why, Grace? Do you owe someone money again? Grace didn't answer, so I worriedly asked, "How much do you owe this time?" $7,000, she mumbled. What? $7,000? That's crazy. What did you borrow so much money for? I plopped down on the sofa in disbelief. I sat there, frantically wondering how to deal with Grace's enormous debt. Her extravagant spending habits had started after our parents passed away. I guess she was trying to numb out her grief with the latest must-have outfit. Then suddenly, she burst out laughing. "Come on, bro, I'm just kidding." Huh? I gaped at her. "Grace, it's not funny. For an instant there, I actually thought we'd have to elope or something." She grinned at me. If there's no debt, then why are we moving again?" I followed her as she walked out of the room, took a piece of fajita, and popped it in her mouth. Then she began to tell me everything. Turns out she'd found herself a sugar daddy fiancé, and we were moving in with him. I frowned at her. "So what, now you're marrying some granddad? Why do you—" Without letting me finish my sentence, Grace tapped my head with her knuckle. "Do you seriously think a beautiful and famous model like me would marry some old man? Yet, even as a famous model, you still can't afford all of your branded goods, then you have to keep on moving house all the time to avoid the debt collectors." I winked at Grace. She was about to hit me on the head again, but I dodged it. Ha! The next morning, there was a knock at the door, so I opened it to find a good-looking man in his mid-40s standing there. Ah, turns out he's Owen, my future brother-in-law. Before I had a chance to say anything, Grace tottered over in her heels and wrapped her arms around his neck. "Honey, why are you so late? I'm so nervous." Smiling, Owen said, "Darling, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's ready to welcome you and Easton." They continued coddling each other, so I quickly walked away. Seeing them like that gave me goosebumps. Ugh, cheesy. Owen drove us to his house. Well, I say house, but it was more like a royal palace. Inside there was a classic design to the place, with a luxurious style. I spotted a girl about my age sitting on the couch. Her arms were folded and she had a disgruntled look on her face. Owen looked at her and said, "Vivian, why are you still sitting there? Come and welcome your stepmom and uncle." Vivian smirked and coldly replied, "No thanks. I'm not in the market for a new stepmom, especially one who's barely out of high school." Then she stormed off, slamming the door behind her. Oh no, she hates me. Does she? Seeing Grace look worried, Owen, though obviously a little angry, still tried to reassure her. "It's okay, she's just being a typical teenager. Give her a few days and I'm sure she'll be fine." As for me, I was I had to admit that I was very nervous. Vivian's sharp-eyed look had made me feel uncomfortable. I mean, I think a tank full of sharks would have been more welcoming than her. Looks like my new home life wouldn't be easy. The next morning, while I was helping Grace take some pictures of her posing in the living room, for the gram, She suddenly yelled so loud that I had almost dropped the phone. Hey, take that dog out right now! Hurry up! I turned around and saw Vivian walking what looked like a white cloud across the room. Seeing that, I ran toward her and said, Vivian, please take it outside, as Grace is allergic to dog fur. Vivian rolled her eyes and replied, This is my home, and this is my dog. Then she smirked as she let go of the dog lead. Oops! Her fluffy cloud dog immediately ran over to Grace and started barking at her. Grace yelped out, grabbed the pillow, then tried using it as a shield as she continued to scream at the dog to go away. At that moment, Owen appeared from upstairs, and with an angry look on his face, he snapped at her. Vivian, get Teddy out of here right now. No, it's them who should leave, she argued, while her dog barked so hard that Grace huddled up tighter in the corner of the couch and cried nonstop. Vivian, you've been warned. If you do it again, then I'll have no choice but to find Teddy a new home, Owen shouted loudly. Vivian huffed out, then gave Grace a fierce look as she picked up the dog and walked off. Man, it was true that life here wasn't easy at all, and it was about to get a lot harder. The next day, I was rearranging my new room when I heard a loud noise coming from downstairs. I went to check it out and found Grace instructing two maids on where to hang a giant print from one of her modeling photo shoots, and laying on the ground was the picture of Vivian with Owen and her mom. Move a little right? No, a little left. Okay, Grace ordered them. I hurried over to her and asked, what are you doing? She smiled. I'm just making a few decor adjustments. It looks far more luxurious now, don't you think? Then she picked a gray vase off the table and threw it into the trash can, then placed a double swan figurine in its place. Now that's much better, she rubbed her hands together. God, I know Grace was just trying to claim her position as host, but even so, she shouldn't have taken down the picture of Vivian's mom. If she knew. At that moment, a scream interrupted my train of thought. Vivian's. Sigh. I knew it. Grace, how dare you? Vivian blushed with anger. Then Grace interrupted her. This is my house too, and I have the right to put my mark on it. It makes the room look far more modern. No, you have no right. Take down that disgusting picture and put the old one back. This is my house, and your father will soon be my husband. So I can do what I please. So stop your childish strops and just accept it. Vivian resentfully picked up the family picture, then quietly took it up to her room. As a witness to it all, I have to be honest, I thought Grace was being outrageous. After all, Vivian's mother passed away not too long ago, so it was only natural to not accept the stepmother, right? But now Grace was messing things up and seemed to want to delete all of the images of Vivian's mother in this house. That wasn't cool. That evening I was reading The Theory of Everything in the garden when I felt a pat on my shoulder. I looked up to see Owen. Easton, I'm just letting you know that schools are all set up for you. You start next week. Then he added, you don't have a car yet, do you? I shall ask Vivian to give you a lift. You're in the same class anyway. Wait, what? I was actually going to the most prestigious and expensive school in the area? That's a dream come true, but I heard that all the other kids that went there were rich and influential. Could a poor guy like me adapt to the luxurious environment there? A feeling of uneasiness suddenly welled up in my heart, but then I told myself that everything would be fine. Monday morning arrived and I made sure I was ready early. I lingered around in the kitchen waiting for Vivian, but 30 minutes later, and she still hadn't appeared. I started to panic, as I didn't want to be late on my first day. That was the type of bad first impression that would stick. I was about to walk to the bus stop when I saw Vivian slowly coming down the stairs. She winced at me and said, "Oh, you're still here. I suppose you want to come with me then?" I didn't answer and just followed her to the car. As soon as I sat down, she sped away. I hadn't even fastened my seatbelt yet, which I then tried to do in a fumbled panic. Every time she pressed down on the accelerator, my heart skipped a beat. Then after some hellish 10 minutes, she stopped the car. Whew! I was still alive. But hang on, this wasn't school. I turned to Vivian and stammered to ask her, but she cut me off. Get out of my car, and if you dare tell anyone how you know me, you will pay. Then she raised her fist to my face. Wow, she didn't have to be that aggressive. But fine, anyway. I didn't want to have anything to do with her either. As I briskly walked to school, I found myself worrying that this would be like it was in the movies, and I'd be teased for being the newbie. The school came into view, and damn, it was even more spectacular in real life. I took a deep breath to muster up the courage to enter the school. The grandeur and beauty of the place was so overwhelming. I was used to graffiti-covered desks and a jam locker door. Not here. Even the restroom door signs were expensive looking. I was wandering aimlessly trying to find my classroom when suddenly, I saw this girl walk ahead and drop something. I picked it up and called after her. "Sorry, is this yours?" The girl turned around, then squeaked out, "Oh my God, thank you. You're my knight in shining armor. I can't live without my glossy lipstick." Then she started doing this odd pose. Then she pouted and flicked out her hair. Was this a rich girl thing? It was very confusing, but hey, I guess she seemed nice. I smiled at her, then turned to walk away. That's when I noticed the groups of girls in the corridor. They were all staring at me, and one of them even winked. Then I overheard some of them talking about me. One of them said, "Ooh, he's cute." And another said, "It's about time we had a new hot boy in this school." Well, girls from rich schools were weird. I know I'm quite a good-looking guy, but I'd never had girls act like this toward me before. I chuckled inwardly and went to find my class. It seemed inevitable that my school life was destined to be rather, interesting. "So, who knows the answer to this?" the teacher asked. The whole class was silent as they looked down at their desks and scratched their heads. Suddenly a hand was raised. Yes, it was me. Just me. In fact, physics was my forte subject, so the question on the board didn't baffle me, so I gave an in-depth answer. The teacher looked surprised, then she smiled at me and said, "It looks like we have a budding Einstein in our midst." All this praise was a little embarrassing. Also, I noticed that all the girls in the class were looking at me with admiring eyes. Meanwhile, I overheard one boy whisper, "Where did this robot come from?" I unconsciously glanced over at Vivian. She was sitting in the corner of the classroom, and even she was gawping over at me. Meeting my gaze, she immediately pouted and looked away. For the rest of the day, I continued to impress my teachers and classmates. In English Lit, I recited a verse from Twelfth Night, and in math, I wrote down the formula for pi on the board. Hey, being smart has its highlights, and it was good to get recognition for my brains. I'd already been recruited into both the physics club and the quiz team. Hey, turned out this new school was not that bad. I'm Easton, and if you haven't seen part 1 of my story, I advise you to go and check it out. So, I'm only at this elite school because my sister Grace is marrying an older rich man named Owen. Then, there's Vivian, Owen's daughter. I haven't quite worked her out yet, but she seems like trouble. As the first days went, mine was a success, so I was grinning as I walked toward the bus stop. Suddenly, a girl caught up with me and patted me on the shoulder. "Hey, I'm Lila. We're in the same class." "Hi, Lila. I'm Easton." I smiled at her. "You're so good at, well, everything," she giggled. "So, I like physics too. I think we should study together sometime." She chewed on her lip as she twizzled a strand of her hair around her finger. "Yes, sure." Suddenly, a nudge distracted me. "Vivian." She swaggered past us, then looked back at me and pouted. Seeing this, Lila rolled her eyes and tutted out, "That girl is such a nuisance. I'd recommend you steer clear of the likes of her." I nodded at Lila's words, but kept my eyes on Vivian. At that moment, bump. Vivian, with her head so high, striking her arrogant walk, had crashed straight into some nerd who was walking while looking at his phone. I winced as I watched her fall on top of him, and his phone flung away and smashed as it hit the ground. She blushed and scrambled to get up, frantically took out the money from her wallet and stuffed it into the boy's hand and hurried away. "Huh? What an obnoxious girl," Lila snarked. "Thinking daddy's money solves everything? How ignorant." Sigh. I can only give her a shrug hearing those words, then quickly made my excuses about having to catch my bus. That night, I was watching Mythbusters on TV in the living room when I suddenly saw Grace running out of the bathroom screaming. Her skin had these red patches all over it, and she was crying out how there were dog hairs on her towel. At that moment, Vivian passed us. She looked Grace up and down, then smirked and said, "Oh my, our model looks like a lobster today." Grace was so angry that she somehow managed to turn even redder. "Vivian, you dare? Just you wait!" After that, Grace burst into the office and dragged Owen into the living room. Oh man, it was really serious this time. "Owen, look at me. I'm hideous and it's down to that spiteful child." She pointed at a still smirking Vivian. "These tricks of hers are unacceptable." She shook her arm vigorously, then stomped her feet on the floor. Owen frowned at Vivian, but she didn't show any guilt. Instead, she just shrugged and said, "I have no idea what she's talking about." The atmosphere in the house was so tense that I literally couldn't breathe. Seeing this, Grace continued, "Honey, it's time we sent her to boarding school. The teachers there will be better equipped to manage her and help her change." Owen listened attentively, then nodded. Vivian's smirk dropped, and she glared at Grace, then turned to Owen and said harshly, "Dad, why do you always listen to her? She's just an outsider. I'm your daughter." "Okay, let's take it slow. I'll see what's the best for you." Then he turned to Grace and said softly, "Come on, darling, let's go get you some medicine." Then he led Grace to their bedroom. I thought that the threat of boarding school would change Vivian, but no. It only seemed to entice her more. One day during dinner, Owen's phone rang. He went out of the room to answer it, and when he returned, his face was all scrunched up in anger. Then he slammed his fist on the table. "Vivian, you're causing trouble again? How dare you break in and steal stuff from the chemistry lab?" I really have no words." She didn't respond, still focused on her plate, which drove Owen even madder. He shouted, "Your teacher said if you make any more minor mistakes, they'll expel you. Is that what you want?" "Oh my God, expelled from school? That would bring shame to our family," Grace added. Vivian glared at Grace, but she still continued. "I did tell you to send her to boarding school, but you refused." Then suddenly, her eyes lit up as if she had just come up with some crazy idea. Then she turned to look at me with a smile that sent chills down my spine. "Ah, I know. Easton's a top student, and he's in most of Vivian's classes, isn't he? So he can supervise her. Maybe there will be good results." "What? No way!" Vivian and I shouted in unison. While I was silently cursing Grace's crazy idea, Owen seemed quite amused by it. "Yeah, that sounds good." "No way! Who the hell is he to monitor me?" "Well, if you don't like it, then I suggest you go up to your room and start packing for boarding school." Vivian didn't say anything else, just sulked and stormed back to her room. Owen shook his head wearily, then told me to go have a little talk with him in his office. "Easton, please help me keep an eye on Vivian. Honestly, I don't want to send her away to a boarding school, but I can't sit around and wait for her to be expelled either." This put me in a dilemma here. I didn't want any involvement with this stubborn girl, but I couldn't say no to Owen. Seeing me hesitate, he continued, "Please, she's a good kid. She's just had a tough time and she's so angry at everything. She's so angry at me." And yeah, you guess it, I gave in and agreed to help him. Then he immediately listed off a series of tasks. Don't let Vivian get anything lower than a C. Don't let her hang out with any bad friends, including Carter, her current unpleasant boyfriend. Follow her closely and don't let her break any school rules. Make sure she takes studying seriously for once. These sounded simple, right? For normal people, maybe, but Vivian was far from normal. Instead, she was troublesome, cunning, and uncooperative. I had no idea how I was going to convince a rebel like Vivian to abide by any of these rules. But I told Owen I'd help. So now I had to stick to my word. So from then on, I officially became Vivian's tutor and butler. I had to tutor her every day, keep an eye on her 24/7, and of course, put up with her mischievous pranks to escape my management. "Please, focus! Why do you keep on staring out the window and daydreaming when the exams are right around the corner?" I got really mad at Vivian. "I don't want to, but I have a headache, so I just can't concentrate." She wasn't fooling me with that fake pity face. I immediately pulled a tablet of aspirin out of my shirt pocket and tossed my head to signal her to take it so that she could keep studying. Vivian was dumbfounded, picked up her pen, and started doing the homework. But within just less than 5 minutes, she turned to me and asked, "Hey, Easton, do you like playing games? I flipped the pages of the book and reluctantly said yes. Clearly, she was just waiting for that, as she immediately took out her Nintendo Switch, excitedly gave it to me and said, "So you can play this, and I'll sleep for a bit. I stayed up so late last night watching movies. When the time's up, just tell my dad that we finished studying." Before I can say anything, she'd already jumped onto her bed and wrapped herself in a blanket. Ugh, it's so frustrating. But then an idea popped in my head. Well, then let's change the learning method. Language shower. How does that sound? Then I reached for the mini speaker on the table, played a Spanish audio lesson at the highest volume, and placed it right by her ears. She quickly covered her head with a pillow, but I didn't give up and continued pushing the speaker close. After rolling around in bed for a while, she finally admitted defeat, and with a frowning face, went back over to the desk and said, "Okay, just stop this crazy torture right away, please. You want me to sit here and study, right?" I folded my arms and smiled smugly. Ha! This girl is not that hard to handle. I didn't share Vivian's carefree attitude. Instead, I was so anxious that she would fail her exams and I'd get the blame. I even had to beg her, "Hey, please, focus on studying literature, please. If you get an F, then I will be dead meat." "Huh? That's none of my business," Vivian sneered. I desperately passed her my essay. "Here, I've already prepared this for your reference. You just have to memorize it." She quickly scanned it once, then dropped it down on the table and replied, "Nah, you can learn it by yourself. I have better things to do." Helplessly, I picked up the essay and read it out loud. I read it again and again, with the hope that while she was polishing her nails, she could remember a few sentences. At first, Vivian seemed annoyed, but then she giggled and said, "Okay, let me learn on my own. Your poor face looks so funny." What a miracle! She actually started reading through the notes, but to be honest, I didn't expect much. But you know what? The most unexpected thing happened. When we were standing outside of the school gates, she showed me her exam results. B's and C's, and not one D. Man, this felt even better than when I got an A+. Well, almost. I was about to congratulate her when I heard someone shout her name. Then I turned around to see some kids walking over to her. Oh no. Were these the bad influences Owen told me to keep her away from? Oh no. Vivian's friends were walking over to her, so I quickly pulled her aside and sternly told her to go home immediately. Vivian moved her hand away and said, "Huh? It's none of your business. I could be anywhere with anyone and you have no right to force me." "Fine then. If you don't come with me, then I'll call Owen and you'll no doubt be sent off to boarding school by the end of the week. Is that what you want?" She reluctantly said her goodbyes to her friends, then followed me home. I couldn't help but smile proudly. I'd done a good job. Victory felt good. I'm Easton, and if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of my story, I suggest you go and check them out. As for Vivian, no, I don't have some sort of superiority complex. I'm only bossing her about like this because her dad, Owen, gave me the job of supervising her. I have had her best interest at heart. As if she messes up, then he's going to send her to boarding school. I don't get it. I know Vivian doesn't want to be sent away, but why couldn't she just behave? She was so not a simple girl. In fact, Mischief should be her middle name. The next day when I walked into class, everyone was looking at me and laughing. Then the boy sitting next to me showed me a photo on his phone. Geez, what on earth was it? Yup, it was me asleep on my desk in my room. My mouth was wide open and I was drooling. Who the heck posted this online? Could only be Vivian. Suddenly, a paper plane hit my head. I unfolded it and read the message. "That was for embarrassing me in front of my friends, even Stevens." Well played, Vivian. Of course, I was far too much of a diligent and responsible person to bail on my mission because of some silly photo. You know what? Since I agreed to supervise Vivian, I always made sure she was in my sights. I followed her so closely that soon the rumors started circulating such as, "Are those two dating?" and "Easton is such a gold digger." But I just found their childish words amusing. Besides, I knew the truth. Until one day, I was studying in the library when Lila sat down next to me. "What's going on between you and Vivian? I mean, you always seem to be together." I was too tongue-tied to reply, so Lila continued. "I think you should stay away from her. Trust me, there's nothing good about that type of girl." Out of nowhere, Vivian jumped in and shouted, "Oh, excuse me. What did you just say? So what type of girl do you think I am? Everyone in the library stared at us. Lila could hardly answer, while Vivian's glare unnerved me. I was trying to find a way to cool things down, but Vivian just angrily swiped the book off the table, then stormed off. I wanted to chase after her, but Lila grabbed my arm and told me to ignore her. Then, in a sweet voice, she asked me to help her with her math problem. I forced a smile and replied, yeah, sure. After that, every time I saw Vivian, whether it was at school or home, she didn't say a word to me and instead just gave me death stares. Her look was a little on the scary side and made me feel uncomfortable, but above all else, it made me feel guilty. But I didn't understand why. I hadn't done anything wrong, right? Then one time, I was on my way to the canteen when I saw Grace. What was she doing here? I caught up with her and she said the principal had called as Vivian was in trouble again. But as Owen was on a last-minute business trip, she had to come. She's such a pain in the neck. I had to leave my nail appointment early. She waved her halfway painted nails in front of me. Look, how hideous. I walked alongside Grace. Lunch would have to wait, as I needed to find out what Vivian had done now. I didn't understand it, as I had been keeping a close eye on her and I hadn't seen her do anything bad. From the outside, I saw both Lila and Vivian were in there. Grace stormed straight into the office and I stepped in behind her. It turns out the history exam had disappeared. And earlier on, Lila had seen Vivian sneaking into the teacher's classroom. Frustrated, Vivian shouted out, "No, that wasn't me. Lila made that up." But the principal didn't believe her and was persistent that Vivian had done it. He also said Lila was an exemplary student and there was no reason for her to make this up.
"This is it. You're expelled,"
the principal declared. I looked at Vivian with concern, and she looked like she was about to cry. Right at that moment, Grace spoke up. "Do you have any other evidence besides this girl's words? How can you accuse Vivian like that when your only proof is another student's words? I don't think my daughter is that kind of person." Vivian looked up at Grace with her eyes widened. After discussing for a while, in the end, the principal changed his mind about expelling Vivian and decided this needed investigating further. Phew. I felt relieved. As we walked out of there, Vivian awkwardly looked at Grace and said, "Thank you," then ran away. It was strange seeing her acting all timid, but I guess what Grace did meant a lot to her, as after that, they stopped the petty feuding. Grace didn't tell Owen about what happened, and Vivian even asked her friend to take care of her pet dog for a while so Grace could have a break from sneezing. It was nice not living in a war zone, but more than that, this version of Vivian was, well, very cute. It was a Saturday night, and I was playing on the PS5 in the living room when Vivian appeared. Whoa, she was all dressed up and she looked, really good. "Later, losers. I'm going on a date with Carter," she waved at me. I immediately jumped up and blurted out, "No, you can't." I mean, that's one of the taboos Owen had mentioned before. I tried everything to make her stay at home, but to no avail. So I grabbed my jacket and secretly followed them to their rendezvous. Yes, I was third-wheeling, but I needed to check nothing bad would happen to her. I mean, I'd promised Owen. I followed them to an open-air cinema. Cheesy. Sitting not far away, I saw them kissing, and then halfway through the movie, he took her hand and led her off. Where were they going? Looking at Carter's eager face, it wasn't hard to guess what he had planned. As Vivian's supervisor, I couldn't let that happen. So I immediately ran over to them, quickly wrapped my jacket around Vivian's waist, and whispered to her, "Your Aunt Flo is on her way over." Vivian looked startled, and to Carter's surprise, she hurriedly told me to take her home. When we arrived back, she rushed up to her bathroom. And just as I expected, exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds later, she ran up to me and shouted, "How dare you fool me! You ruined my 3-month anniversary date!" Then she angrily went back to her room and slammed the door. She could be mad with me if she wanted. I was just doing my duty. After that, Vivian refused to talk to me. And whenever I saw Carter, well, his death glares made his feelings toward me pretty darn clear. Then one day after school, while I was waiting for Vivian to appear at the school gate, my phone buzzed. It was from her. "I'm trapped in the girls' restroom on the 2nd floor. Please hurry." Without thinking much, I rushed over there. I was just about to bang on the cubicle door when I felt someone grab my collar and pull me back. It was the principal, followed by Carter and Vivian. What? Why was she there? This was so confusing. The principal made me follow them to their office, then accused me of being a peeping perv. What? I tried defending myself, but he didn't believe me. I suppose this wasn't surprising, seeing as I didn't tell them about Vivian's message. However mad I was with her for framing me, I knew if I landed her in trouble, she'd be expelled. And I didn't want that. Not only did it majorly suck that everyone thought I was a peeping Tom, but I also ended up being suspended for the rest of the week. I stayed in my room feeling glum and forced myself to study. But I couldn't concentrate on anything, not even physics. This was awful. While I was thinking about it, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it to see Vivian standing there. Great, now she was here to rub salt in the wound. Regardless of how much you hate me, you shouldn't have framed me like that. This could affect my future. I went to close the door, but she stopped it with her foot. Wait, I have some good news for you, she smiled at me. You can go back to school tomorrow. It was all Carter, so you're off the hook. I looked at Vivian with amazement and asked if it was true. As soon as she nodded, I immediately hugged her. A few seconds later, I felt like I was overreacting, so I let go of her and scratched my head shyly. Then Vivian told me everything. Turns out she found out that Carter had stolen her phone and sent me that message to trap me. Then he told the principal he'd seen me sneaking into the girls' restrooms. Vivian made him confess, but she secretly recorded it and sent it to the principal. So I wasn't suspended anymore. What a relief. Man, I'm really grateful to Vivian. But then I asked her, but Carter is your boyfriend. Nah, I've decided I've outgrown bad boys. Instead, I want someone caring and sweet. She grinned at me. Well, this was a few months ago, and although Vivian is still feisty and stubborn at times, she is taking her studies more seriously now. The atmosphere in our house is pretty good, which makes my life so much easier. And you know what? Vivian and Grace are even going shopping together, and I have to go and carry their stuff. Oh, and if you're wondering about Vivian and me, I guess a rebel and a top student can get on after all. I guess we'll just have to see what happens.